Jack Bowman is an audio drama maestro known for his diverse genre productions, with a penchant for spine-chilling horror. This Halloween, he's unveiling a groundbreaking recreation of Tod Browning's lost classic, London After Midnight, featuring the legendary Art Malik in the lead role, bringing a long-lost masterpiece back to life in a haunting Dolby Atmos experience. And Jack is with us here. How are you today?
I'm not too bad. How are you doing?
I'm excellent, thank you. Now, what was the inspiration for you behind recreating London After Midnight as an audio drama?
Well, firstly, I'm an audio drama producer, so it felt silly to attempt it as my first major feature film.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, I am a massive fan of what Dick Fiddy at the BFI, who's a friend of mine, would call the myth of lost media. You know, there are 97 episodes of Doctor Who I will never get to see because currently they're not in the archives. And for me, you know, I'm a massive fan of horror, massive fan of old media, and London After Midnight, as the holy grail of lost Hollywood classics, has always been something that fascinated me. So when the opportunity arose at the start of this year to say London After Midnight was up for grabs and could now be remade because it's got into the public domain, I thought, okay, one, can we do it? Two, can we do it as an audio drama, considering it's a silent film? And three, the big thing was, even if we could do all those things, would we do it justice?
And how did you sort of go about converting a silent film into an audio drama? Because they're almost opposite mediums.
It's a very good question. So I was a little hands-off. I entrusted this to two writers I love and adore, Lance Roger Axt and Kenton Hall. I've worked with them both separately. So this was an opportunity for us to come together, and we took the original screenplay because we could find that online. There are some people who've attempted to reconstruct it themselves. There's a Turner movie classic reconstruction using what survives. So we had a sort of soupçon of like bits and pieces we could pull together. But, you know, at its heart, what we try to do quite faithfully, I think, around the silent screenplay is just bring to life those characters. And Lance and Kenton are brilliant at dialogue, characterization. And on the whole, we didn't make that many changes to the structure of London After Midnight as horror fans would know it. It was just about giving two very good writers the freedom to say, look, you know the medium, you know what we're going to. Here's the screenplay from 1927 sort of became the roadmap, but it was for them to sort of use their skills and expertise as audio drama writers to bring to life.
And for those who maybe aren't familiar with London After Midnight, are you able to give us a brief overview of the plot and I suppose the style of it?
Well, it came at the end of the era of silent movies. Talkies were around the corner. The Jazz Singer, I think, came out in the same year, and everything was about to change in Hollywood. But it's considered a classic of lost silent horror because of the central performance and iconography of Lon Chaney, who was an actor who had one advantage over his contemporaries in that he could do his own makeup. So he created a fantastic Phantom of the Opera for the feature film in 1925. And he was the one who created the look of the central monster of London After Midnight, the man in the beaver hat. And that icon has gone on to be incredibly influential in more modern horror feature films like The Babadook and more recently The Black Phone by Christopher Robert Cargill and Scott Derrickson. In terms of the actual plot, what happens, it's a very straightforward horror mystery where a family has been beset by two tragedies that have hit two generations of the family. And then as a result of that tragedy, the home in which the family lived develops a reputation for being cursed. And then 6 months later, it appears some new lodgers move in who may or may not be vampires, at which point Scotland Yard is called in, and that's where Art Malik steps into Lon Chaney's roles as the Inspector Edward Burke to get to the bottom of the mystery. Are there vampires next door, or is there something more sinister going on?
Ooh. Yes. And the story of London After Midnight blends elements of murder, mystery, and vampire thriller and gothic ghost story. So how did you approach balancing these different genres in the audio adaptation?
We worked very hard on the script. This I mean, that's the thing to say. Anything I do, we work exceptionally hard. We have to get it right on the page before we even commit to turning a single second on tape to turn it into an audio drama. So there was a lot of back and forth. We had a lot of three-way creative debates, and to get the balance right, we have made 2 alterations to the original story in terms of how events play out, but that allows us to basically balance those layers. This is a tough question you're asking me, because otherwise I might have to give away a couple of spoilers. Yeah. But we just worked incredibly hard on, getting to the core of what London After Midnight is, which is there in the original screenplay, and then what we need to add to it. And in some ways, like Lance is actually he's based in America, and the original production was an American film, but he's been the first one as an American to say, look, we need to play to the strengths of like English horror and, the Britishness within it. So that was the kind of flavor that we added to the mix that allowed us to balance those 3 things.
You've used the screenplay, but I take it you're not old enough to have seen the original film because it was destroyed in 1965. So is it maybe one of those things where you can never know for sure if you've maybe captured the feeling of the original film?
No, I mean, that's the thing. It's we can't tell. I mean, like, the big thing that came across to me when I got the first draft of the script to read was the mood. You can see in the screen grabs there is a feel, there is a style, and the part of the way my brain works with audio, and this is absolutely bizarre, but it's like I see sound. So when you start pitching audio projects at me, or you send me scripts, it's how I start visualizing them. And for me, I mean, whatever that means, I don't know, but but for me, it's like when the drama started coming in, did it start evoke the feel of the original movie? Did it evoke those stills? Did it evoke what we read in the screenplay? And the answer was yes. But the note of caution is that there's a wonderful group called Big Finish, and they've been dramatizing lost episodes of the Avengers, as in the proper Avengers with Steed and Peele.
Yes.
And they had one of the missing episodes that they dramatized actually turned up, and they talked to their creative team at the BFI about the process of how, from telesnaps, like captures of what was broadcast at the time, they talked about how they had to guesswork because the rehearsal script didn't give them enough information. It might say something like, scene, yeah, exactly as it was rehearsed on Tuesday. Brilliant. Yeah. So they were having to make things up. And we, to a degree, we've probably patchworked. I would love the original to turn up, because then we could actually see what we got right, what we got wrong. But what we've done is we've absolutely followed what we hope is the spirit of the original film and the content that's left to give it the best possible shot of actually allowing people to experience London After Midnight.
And what can listeners expect in terms of the sound design and production quality in the Dolby Atmos audio movie?
Wow, it's absolutely state of the art. Dolby's making a massive play now, because we've had the podcasting explosion, we have audiobooks, and audio dramas kind of sort of sat a little bit awkwardly in between. Sometimes people actually can't tell them apart. So you are looking at a full-blown Dolby Atmos mix is basically giving this a very high-end cinematic sheen. If all goes to plan, we're hoping we can do a premiere in a cinema, which will play the audio movie, I should say, like it was a film, and you'll be able to experience that high-level cinematic surround sound experience. It's just, all we've done is we've taken the pictures away, and we've asked you, with your wonderful computer called the human brain, to visualize the London After Midnight you want to see.
And because there's no visual element, I suppose there's no limitations, are there? The brain can imagine absolutely anything that, if you had to make in a movie, you'd have to spend loads of money making it.
Exactly. Our costumes and set designs are fantastic.
Yes.
For the money. But the other thing is as well, this is a very particular thing when you're making high-end audio drama, the kind of thing I make. You have to be, we just had version 3 come through with sound design and music, and we have to be absolutely pernickety about how a piece of sound sounds, because the human brain responds to sound so vividly. For me, if a sound design is out of place or a bit of timing is wrong, it actually knocks you out the drama. So we're going into massive levels of immersiveness to basically make this like a lot of my past work, it's all about making it as immersive and smooth and as easy for your imagination to latch onto, because sometimes you can just sort of throw out a sound effect here or there, particularly if it's a well-known one, or a lower quality piece of sound, and it absolutely will throw your brain out, and it will take a long time to get back into it. It's like bad editing or bad photography on a film. Basically, we have to be so precise in what we're doing.
Now, the cast itself features a talented ensemble, as you were mentioning. So, are there any particular highlights from working with this group of actors?
Oh gosh, where do I start? So Art Malik, I worked with him once before when we did Murder on the Orient Express 6 years ago. Absolute sweetheart, no airs and graces about him at all. Wonderful man, brilliant company player. And, we were asking him to step into big shoes in Lon Chaney, and just kept nailing it. Dan Starkey, absolutely fabulous. If you know Doctor Who, you would know him as Strax, the angry Sontaran. He actually stepped in very last minute because we had an actor who had to drop out of his role. And we had 1 day's recording left, and Dan came in and he was smashing it out of the park in 1 take, 2 takes. Beth Eyre, she is audio indie royalty with things like the Wooden Overcoats, and I've worked with her before, so I'm always worried I'm going to offer Beth a job and she's going to say no, and I'll get very, very sad. and then also, like, I could like give every member of the cast kudos. The one thing that was interesting was there's a gentleman called David Bickerstaff who is in the cast, and we had to have a little jiggle around with the actor dropping out the night before, which Dan stepped in, but that changed how the cast worked. And he came in day 2 and he stepped into this big, important, spoilery role, and it was like every take was brilliant. And I remember him saying, like, David, I've got no notes for you. That was brilliant. Just do it again. Uh-huh. And he pulled me to one side and he said, are you sure you're not going to fire me because you're unhappy because you're not giving me any notes? I went, no, it's a reverse. You're brilliant. You're absolutely brilliant in this role. And so, we were working with like every single actor and member of that cast, absolutely top of their game, regardless of whether they're like someone like Art or someone who's a well-respected sort of indie radio producer. Oh my God, were we lucky to get them for 2 days.
By the sounds of it, you were all working together as opposed to just recording your lines separately far away.
Yes, that's correct. We had a lovely 2 days at the Soundhouse Studios, who produced many, many famous things. Things like Doctor Who, Hitchhiker's, X-Files, all being recorded there. But yeah, it's very important that, I do projects where we do remote recording and everyone has to record in isolation. But this one, it was like, okay, particularly post-pandemic, this was our first time back in our studio, having a company, run around the microphones and, basically just giving them permission to play and them giving me permission to behave like a child for 2 days, going, hey, this is fun, this is cool, ha ha ha, brilliant. Yeah. So yeah, we had a really, really lovely time in the studio. We were very well looked after by the Soundhouse as well, and honestly, I think that quality is going to show when it comes through on the final edit.
What do you hope audiences will take away from this reimagined version of London After Midnight, and do you hope they'll maybe be scared or enjoy it, or maybe a mixture?
Well, I'm fully prepared for maybe 20% of the internet to say I screwed it up and got it wrong, and that's not what it is at all. Because the human imagination is the most powerful thing, and it's been in a lot of people's imagination now for nearly 60 years as a piece. But for me, I hope that people understand this is an opportunity to finally experience something like London After Midnight. I hope they will take away and appreciate the hard work and the high quality level of what we're doing in terms of casting and sound design as an experience for them. And I think again, without getting too spoilery, London After Midnight is a horror, but because it has those shades, it's part thriller, it's part mystery, it's part this. I think the main thing I'd really love them to take away is the fact they're thrilled. If they find it scary, great. If they love the mystery of it, if they get ahead of the mystery and work it out early, that's not a problem. But I just want you to sit down and really understand what an hour of really well-made, high-produced, high-end audio drama can do for you as a piece of entertainment.
Well, what are you working on at the moment. Are there any more audio productions that you've got coming up after this?
Yes, it's actually been the busiest year in a long time. So,
Wow.
on top of London After Midnight, which is, if you want to find out more about that, that's available at www.londonaftermidnight.co.uk. Please visit that to support great independent audio horror drama. On top of that as well, I've just recorded a pilot in partnership with Content is Queen called Bin Juice, which is an audio sitcom. So I literally, 1 week London After Midnight doing horror, next week we're doing comedy. That's been produced by and created by Emma Tyndall. So we've got that in post-production, and we're hoping a network is going to pick it up for series. I also produced a pilot, which is now crowdfunding its series called Twilight Meridian, created by a gentleman called Ryan Cole. Again, a very high-end, fantastic fantasy noir series we're working on. I've just done 2 seasons for Moonbug Entertainment, and seasons 2 of Leleby City Farm and Little Baby Bum should be coming out anytime soon. And I think I could say they're coming out on Audible because we've released season 1 and they're Audible originals. So there's those up and coming. If if you've got younger children, there's that covers a scale from 0 through to 11 between those two. And we're currently developing a brand new spy-fi series, which we've been kicking around for years, but we just decided, okay, we're going to start writing scripts and make it happen now, which is the pitch is basically it's a love letter to all those 1960s spy shows that people still love today, but with a twist which modernizes it in a smart way. And also as well, I'm hoping at the end of this year we're going to see the light of day or a series we did in the pandemic called Unsinkable, which stars Brian Cox from Succession. No, he never told us to, what. But it's also got John Malkovich, Tommy Brody Sangster, and Natalie Emmanuel in it. And we've just been waiting for the right partner to come aboard that one. So we produced that over 18 months during lockdown. And last I heard from the Los Angeles team, it's itching close. It's itching closer to release. So that's the spectrum, and I probably have forgotten to mention something else somewhere along the line as well. But yes.
Yes. Well, this Halloween, of course, London After Midnight is the project that we're talking about. So where can we or will we be able to have a listen to that?
So first thing, you can pre-order it right now if you wish on our Bandcamp page. We are doing it as a limited edition collector's vinyl set. Only 301 copies will ever be made. Then we added 50 CDs because people wanted it on compact disc. Who knew? It's still a thing.
Yes. Wow.
Digital copies can be pre-ordered now. So if you order that, you will get it in advance of the Halloween release. And the audio movie version is what we're putting out through Bandcamp. But it will then be converted into an episodic two-parter, which will be then integrated into a series by Lance Roger Axt called Midnight Matinees. And that will be launching on the Fable and Folly network around Halloween time, which is an audio fiction network coming out of Canada run by Sean Howard. So there will be a podcast version coming that will be broken up into like this 2-part mini-series version. It goes into Midnight Matinees, which is a series of sort of horror and mystery classics, which Lance has produced. But if you want to get your hands on the top end audio movie Dolby Atmos version, that's available through our Bandcamp. So if you go to londonaftermidnight.co.uk.com, that takes you to the band. londonaftermidnight.co.uk, you'll be able to pre-order it right now and get it in advance of Halloween.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today, and
Thank you.
Have a great Halloween.
You too.